In this video, we are going to create a very simple tooltip. So when the mouse over this box, you can see these tooltips pop up. And this tooltips is very simple because we don't want to spend a lot of time to do some fancy CSS. So this just composed by these green, yellow, green rectangles and this blue triangle. So now we go to the programming part, and you can see in this project, this is very simple. We just have a div with the class which is equal to box, and inside the style we just has the body, which the purpose is to center this box, and we have the box with width and height of 50 pixels and background colors is orange. And now the first thing is we are going to create this rectangle and also the blue triangle. So we go to create a rectangle by typing box and then before, and then we use the position of relative, and we use position of relative at this part, and it should use absolute, so it will move relative to the orange box. So this is the green box, and we are going to move it relative to the orange box. So we use the position absolute, and then we have to add the tooltip attribute at here. Actually, this is a name that you want to use, but we use tooltips at here, and we just type this is a tooltip. So now we can get the content by using the attribute. So we type content and then attribute tooltip. Now you can see this is the tooltips. This is from the index which is pasted at here. Now we can set the width. We use max content, so it will move the size to as large as the content. So we save it, and we also need to add the background colors of green, yellow. Now we can see we already create this rectangle. So the next thing is we are going to create a triangle. So we use after, and this tool is the pseudo element. So if you are not familiar, you can take our CSS course, and again which is using the position absolute. And then this triangle do not have any content, so we paste the empty string at here. We already learned how to create a triangle in another videos, so you can take a look on how to create this triangle by using the border. And we use the border with 20 pixels of solid and transparent, and we just use the border top. So now you can see this blue triangle already appeared. So now we want to position these two elements. So now the first thing is we want to move both box before and box after 50% from its left edge. So we type left 50%. So now both of them move from left 50% of the orange box. And next we want to translate, also be transform, and then we want to translate x. So we use the short form translate, and which is 50% of its width. So both of them will be at the center of the box. But now the tricky part is if we want to move both of them of 100%, or should be negative 100%, so odd on the top of the orange box. But you can see this is not a shape that we want because the height of these two elements are different, and one actually is 40 pixel height. So if you correct this to red, so actually this is a 40 pixel height of square, and the other is of another height. So we have to use the transform separately. So we turn back to transparent first, and then we remove this and paste it on each other. And now actually we want to not just negative 100% of the height of this green box, we want to move up 40 pixels. So this is on top of this blue triangle. So we have to use the cal functions, and then we use minus 40 pixel. So we have to use the cal functions to move up 40 pixel more. So now you can see the green box is on top of the blue triangle. So this is how to create a simple version of the tooltip shape. Now we go to the animation part. So we want to make the mouse over the orange box, and these tooltips pop up. And now first we just make a very simple animation to demonstrate how to do the transition. So first, for example, we add the background color to be red, and then we use the hover. So at here we paste the hover, and then we add the background color to be yellow, and of course we have to make the transition of 2 seconds, and then we set to change the background color. So when the mouse over, you can see it turn to yellows. So now we do a very similar things to the transform, but the tricky part is, or the most difficult part is, the transform is different. You can see one is -100, -40 pixels, and the other is just -100 pixels. So to deal with these problems, we have to use the variables, because we want to add a transform work for all these 2 elements. So we copy these, but instead of using these, we use a variable called translate y, and we haven't created this yet. So we have to create this variable and paste to each of them, and now we copy these and paste to here, and now we can also delete this one. And also we do a very similar things. We cut this and paste to here. Now you can see the result is the same because all of them already passed to this variable. And one more thing is, at the beginning we want to make the scale to be 0, so we have to use scale, and in order to pass the scales later, again we have to use a variable, and we use scale, and of course we have to set a values of this scale. So initially we want the scale is 0, and then we want the scale to be 1 after we mouse over on the orange box. So you can see it already pop up. So we have to add the transition. For example, we use 1 second, and we focus on the transform. So when mouse over, you can see it transform and pop up. But now you can see the rectangle and the triangle seems separate. So we have to use the transform origin. The transform origin for the rectangle is bottom center, and the transform origin for the triangle should be top center. So now if we pop up again, now you can see it's just like one thing rather than separate. And actually we can make the time to be much faster, 0.2 seconds, and then we can also change the color to be the same. Now you can see the tooltips will pop up when the mouse over the orange square.